folks. Gather round, because you are not going to believe the story I have for you today. It's a tale that blurs the line between the wild and the truly unbelievable, a story of survival, an unlikely encounter, and an act of kindness that defies explanation. It all started with a man named John, an experienced hiker who thought he knew the Cascade Mountains like the back of his hand. He was about to find out how wrong he was. John had planned a 3-day solo trek, a chance to disconnect and recharge in the pristine wilderness he loved. The forecast called for clear skies, a perfect autumn window. He packed his gear, kissed his family goodbye, and set off, the crisp mountain air filling his lungs. The first day was idyllic. The sun dappled through the golden leaves of the aspens. And the trail was quiet, save for the chatter of squirrels and the distant call of a hawk. He felt at peace, completely in his element. But as anyone who respects the mountains knows, the weather can turn on a dime. By the afternoon of the second day, the sky began to bruise. The light faded, replaced by an ominous, heavy grey. The temperature plummeted, and a biting wind began to whip through the pines, carrying the first stinging flakes of snow. John checked his weather app on his satellite phone. A freak, unpredicted blizzard was bearing down on him. Fast panic, cold and sharp, tried to take hold, but his training kicked in. He knew he had to find shelter immediately. The snow was already coming down thick and fast, a blinding white curtain that erased the trail and swallowed the landscape. Every tree started to look the same. Disorientation began to set in. He was pushing through waist-deep drifts, his body screaming with effort, the cold seeping into his bones. His state-of-the-art gear was being pushed to its absolute limit. Just as a chilling despair began to creep in, he stumbled. Literally, he fell forward into a small clearing and saw it, a dark opening at the base of a massive rock outcropping, a cave. It wasn't much, but it was salvation. He scrambled inside, shaking, his breath pluming in the frigid air. He pulled out his emergency blanket and huddled in the back, listening to the storm rage outside. He was cold, exhausted, but alive. He thought he was alone. Hours passed. The storm was relentless. John was drifting in and out of a hypothermic daze when a sound cut through the howling wind. It was a soft, whimpering cry. It sounded young and terrified. He strained his ears. It wasn't an animal he recognized. It wasn't a coyote or a bear cub. It was a sound of pure distress, and it was coming from deeper within the cave. Fighting every instinct that told him to stay put. To conserve his warmth, John pulled out his headlamp. A deep-seated compassion he couldn't ignore urged him forward. He crawled deeper into the darkness, the beam of his light bouncing off the damp rock walls. The whimpering grew louder, more desperate, and then his light fell upon a sight that stopped his heart. Curled into a small ball in a tiny side chamber was a creature he could barely comprehend. It was small, maybe the size of a human toddler, and covered in shaggy, dark brown fur. It had large, dark, intelligent eyes that were wide with fear and pain. It was shivering violently, its tiny body racked with cold. It looked up at him, and in that moment, John didn't see a monster from legend. He saw a baby. A lost, freezing baby. This was, impossibly, a young Bigfoot. The creature flinched as the light hit it, letting out another pitiful cry. It was clearly in shock, and very, very cold. John's mind was racing. Every myth, every scary campfire story screamed at him to run. What if the parents were nearby? But looking at this little being, so helpless and alone, his fear was replaced by an overwhelming sense of pity. It was just a child, lost in the storm, same as him. Slowly, carefully, he unzipped his own jacket. It was a top-of-the-line down-filled parka, the single most important piece of gear keeping him from freezing. Without a second thought, he shuffled closer, speaking in a low, soothing voice. "It's okay, ... It's okay, ... I'm not going to hurt you." The little creature watched him, its shivering, not letting up. John gently laid the jacket over it, tucking it around its small frame. The effect was almost immediate. The shivering began to subside. The baby Bigfoot snuggled into the warmth of the down, its large, dark eyes never leaving John's face. There was no longer fear in them, but a look of dawning trust. A fragile connection was forged in the heart of that raging blizzard, a silent understanding between two beings just trying to survive. John retreated to his spot, wrapping himself in his thin emergency blanket. It was nothing compared to his jacket, and the cold bit at him fiercely. But hearing the whimpering stop, knowing the little one was warm, gave him a strange sense of comfort. He doesn't know how long they stayed like that, huddled in the dark. At some point, exhaustion claimed him. He awoke to a profound silence. The storm had passed. A weak, watery sunlight was filtering into the cave's entrance. He looked over to the side chamber. The jacket was there, lying neatly folded on the cave floor. But the baby Bigfoot was gone. John scrambled over. There was no sign of it, no tracks in the dusty cave floor other than his own. It was as if it had simply vanished. Had he hallucinated the whole thing? Was it a fever dream brought on by the cold? But his jacket was there, and nestled right on top of it was a small, perfectly woven ring of pine needles and winter berries. A gift, a thank you. John put his jacket back on, the lingering warmth a strange reminder of his unbelievable guest. He emerged from the cave into a world transformed, blanketed in a pristine, silent layer of snow. The mountains felt different now, imbued with a secret he now shared. He found his way back to the trail and, eventually, to safety. He never told many people the full story. Who would believe him? They'd say he was crazy, or that the hypothermia had made him see things. But John knows what he saw. In the heart of a deadly storm, he chose compassion over fear. He gave his own warmth to a creature of legend. and, in return, received a silent, profound thank you that he will carry with him for the rest of his life. It's a powerful reminder that in the great, wild unknown, kindness is a language that everyone and everything understands. Thanks for tuning in to this incredible story. What would you have done in John's position? Let me know in the comments below. And if you love Tales from the Edge of the Map, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. We'll see you next time.